G'day guys, just thought I'd make a quick review of this Blackjet pressure washer. Basically just your usual Chinese unit, same as I think it's called a Giantz unit. They're all the same Chinese, cheap thing. It's rated for 4800 psi maximum and 12 litres a minute. It actually probably runs, I believe, at 3200 psi and I think 9 litres per minute is its normal running pressure. So in the box you get, it's all disassembled, but it's not too bad. Like the motor is mounted to the chassis, only a few little basic things that have to be put together. It takes about 15-20 minutes or so. Put the hose reel together, the lance, all that. So in the box you get obviously all the parts in that unit, but you also get an extra extension hose which can be added onto the end of there for a total of I think 30 meters. I think that hose is about 8 or so, and this is about 22 or something like that. I don't even know, I'll have to check. So it comes with 3 lances. It comes with the U-bend, the straight, and the 45. Comes with all these nozzles up here, as well as the turbo nozzle, which is really good for concrete and all that. Wouldn't be much good for cars, which is what I mostly use it for, but still get a use out of the turbo nozzle for doing concrete and things like that. It also comes with a pickup that you can chuck into a bucket, and this can run off a bucket of water or whatever. Also comes with a soap tank, which I haven't used because I bought this separate foam cannon off eBay. It was about 20 bucks or so. Really good unit, works really well. I use a quite a corrosive cleaner, blast off, from Autosmart. Absolutely fantastic degreaser. Paint safe to a certain extent. So yeah, foam cannon. This will cut through grease on engines with a reasonable quality degreaser like that blast off. Cut through grease, real thick stuff. Also just residue on paint, whatever. It's really got heaps of power. Although it is probably overrated a little bit, it's still like much higher than even a lot of 3-phase units. That I'm coming from a Jet Blaster, 2800 psi at about the same flow rate, but this is actually more powerful than that big 3-phase hot pressure washer. This doesn't have any heating functions, but you can hook it up to hot water. I haven't done it yet. I'm not sure whether I recommend it. I think it's rated to 60 degrees Celsius, the pump, so I'm not sure how the seals would go with the heat. I haven't needed to use it yet, but yeah, it also comes with a user manual, which is surprisingly fantastic. I would expect it to be just Chinglish, really hard to read and all that, but it was really good. There's only one spelling mistake that I found in the whole thing. Quite comprehensive on maintenance and setup, all that sort of thing. Yeah, really nicely done. How to assemble it, very well done. Also comes with a toolkit, which is pretty garbage, but it's nice that it's there. Also a bit of Teflon tape, which I wouldn't recommend using. I'd get your own stuff because that's really not very good stuff. Probably one of the issues that I had with it, the main issue is it's the same with those Giantz units that I've sent up for sale on eBay and things, is this O-ring in here falls apart because it's too soft. So what you can do, you can just take this snap ring off, slide that off and replace the O-ring with probably a better quality one, a little bit firmer rubber, because the rubber in the original one is very, very soft and gets caught and cuts it. So if you get a firmer O-ring, it'll be much, much better. But you can do that once it blows out. Just have one on standby ready to go, because it only lasted about an hour of use and then it went. But since I've done that, I probably put 10 hours onto it and had no issues. The other thing that I did was on this hose reel to prevent flexing in this, and this won't last, this will break if you don't do this modification, I would imagine. Reasonable quality, but you know, it's cheap. You flex at the wrong spot and it starts to drip and all that sort of stuff. So what I did was I, straight out of there, drilled 2 holes, ran a zip tie through it to hold that on, and then up a bit further I did the same thing with the 2 holes and zip tie through to hold that on, preventing any flex in this. That also makes it possible to even reel it up, because without doing that it's just messy. You're not going to get it coiled up properly and you're just going to damage it. So best off just drilling a couple of holes here and there, run a zip tie through it, and it works really well. It's a little bit stiff sometimes. It's not terrible, but perhaps a little bit of grease in there, and maybe in that joint there would help. This handle also falls out pretty regularly. Not terrible, but you know, once every 3 or 4 hours of use, it comes out. What else? Yeah, the other issue, probably most annoying thing at the moment with it, seeing as that's been fixed and that works really well, is probably when you're unreeling the hose and pulling on it, the unit tends to sort of fall back like that, which is really annoying, but haven't really found a solution for that. It's not a big deal, it's just a bit annoying when you're pulling on it. Yeah, this doesn't coil up that nicely. It sort of gets a bit twisted and all that, but if you run the lance out, sit it up, just sit it on the ground and then pull it along the ground while you're reeling it up, it works all right. What else can I say? It's not an expensive unit. I bought it for $320 Australian in Melbourne. Picked it up from the warehouse, where the guy has heaps of spare parts for him. I was going to get no ring off him. He was happy to send it out for a charge and all that, but I decided to go with just get one off local store. It was only a couple of cents anyway, to save waiting for the postage and all that, and also better quality O-ring, won't split again like the really cheap ones that they use. What else? It's got the soap tank, which I haven't used. I'd rather not run my soap that I use the degreaser through the unit, because I'm not sure how it does react with brass, as you can probably see here. So I don't want it to corrode any of the pump. And I would suggest probably not running anything through it that's not a specific pressure washer detergent, because it will probably damage it, but that probably works fine. I haven't used the bucket yet. Anything else? Yes, starting. So it's got an oil cut-off switch, so if you don't have enough oil in it, it'll cut off, which is always good. So it's just got a simple switch here, bit cheap, but works fine. Feels like not too bad. So just flick it to on, turn your fuel on, just here. A bit of an awkward spot again, but you know, it's $300, not $1,500 like most of the brand name ones. So just flick your fuel on there, flick that over to cold, and then hook your water up. You'll definitely want to have your water hooked up before you start it. Hold the trigger down and then pull the cord, and keep holding the trigger down, and then flick this grey knob back over to the hot mode, and that's the easiest, quickest way to start it. Otherwise you'll be stuffing around. You want to hold the trigger down and not have any pressure on the unit until it's actually fully started up, and then it's fine. So yeah, just hold the trigger and then pull the starter, and it starts up first time. Most of the time or second time, it's not a pain to start once you get the little technique of holding the trigger down and pulling the starter at the same time. To turn it off, I think it's recommended in the instruction manual, which is what I always do with most of my petrol stuff is turn the fuel off and just run it until the fuel runs out of the carby bowl. That prevents, if you don't use it for a couple of months or whatever, it prevents all the sediment from damaging the carby and whatnot. And then flick your switch off. You can obviously turn it off straight away, but unless you're going to be using it again within the next few days, you can have issues with stale fuel and whatnot, as with any petrol engine. And I've just done that every time that I turn it off for the day or whatever, and haven't had any issues starting it. That being said, I do use it probably once a week at least, probably a bit more than that, depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, about once a week, so I'm not letting it sit for a long time, so I don't know how that works yet. Fuel consumption, out of a full tank, I'm not 100% sure of the size of the tank. I can probably just quickly check the instruction manual here, which has all the different units that there is. Nice little diagram there, etc, etc. I think it's probably about 4 litres or thereabouts, I would guess. I'll insert the actual size of it, but get about an hour 10 minutes off the 4 or 5 litres or so. That's there, about an hour 10 minutes of continuous use. Full throttle the whole time. You can turn it down to turn the pressure down, but it is sort of designed to run at full throttle. So so about an hour 10 minutes or so to a tank. It'll probably be less if you're shutting it off, using it for 5-10 minutes here, and then letting it warm up again and all that. It'll probably be closer to 45 minutes to 50 minutes or so. But it's good because it really lets you keep track of how many hours you put on it, so you can change the oil in the pump, which has a little glass here. You can see, it's a bit hard to tell on camera, but you can see the oil level, and a little breather up here, which it comes factory with a little plug in there, so you've got to swap that out. But just read the instruction manual that goes through it all. Overall, it's a great unit. Like, I can't fault it for the money. I think they're about $450 on eBay. That includes shipping and everything else. Even for that price, I think it's fantastic. But if you are in Melbourne, you can contact them and you can get it cheaper and go pick it up from their warehouse and whatnot, which is a good option to save a couple $100 or whatever. It seems like it's got pretty good support in Australia in terms of Laurie, who's the guy who imports them and runs that. He's got plenty of spares, which he'll send out if there's anything wrong with it. But I think if you just replace that O-ring with a better quality one, do this little zip tie modification here. Make sure you shut the fuel off after you use it. Change the oil at the intervals recommended in the book. It'll probably be fine. It'll last, plenty of time. If I can get 3 or 4 years out of this, I'll be happy for the money. It's got way more pressure than any sort of $300 pressure washer that you can buy at Bunnings or whatever. It'll just cut through grease on engines, whatever. It's as good as a 3-phase unit, as far as I'm concerned. Probably a little bit better in terms of pressure and flow rate. The other thing is it doesn't come with oil in the engine, so make sure you put oil in it. That's mentioned everywhere. There's caution stickers all over it, so you can't really miss it. There is some, I believe it's like a break-in oil in there, which is meant to be mixed in with normal oil. So they've got probably 30 mils of some, additives to help the engine break in properly, but you still have to add in your engine oil. I just use just some stuff that I had lying around, just some 540. I think it wants 530, so I probably put 530 in it. It's just what I had. Seems to be running fine. The pump, I had to top it up today after about probably about 8-9 hours of use, 10 hours, something like that. I just topped the pump up just with a syringe and like probably 20 mils of 530 because I had another bottle out around. Nothing much else I can really say. It's fantastic unit. I mean, for the price, if you don't mind replacing that O-ring with a better quality one and doing that little mod on the on this hose reel here, I think it's a fantastic fantastic unit. I can't fault it really for the money. I mean, it's not as good as probably like a Karcher, you know, $1,000 pressure washer, you know, $1,500 pressure washer, but it is for, you know, it's $320. It costs nothing compared to them. It starts up every time. Yeah, I honestly can't fault it. It feels a little bit cheap on like the handle and whatnot, but it's not awful. It works. And the rest of the unit is just, you know, great. Yeah, also I'm not being paid to say anything about this pressure washer. You know, I bought it with my own money. I bought it because I sort of have been using a little 240 volt one. And yeah, and I wanted to upgrade. After using a good quality one at work, I wanted a proper pressure washer for home, and this really hasn't disappointed. I haven't used many other petrol ones. I think I've used one other one in the past, but that was a long time ago. Can't really compare it. But yeah, I would go out and buy this even for $500 and whatever on eBay, paired with a little foam cannon and some good quality soap, pressure washer liquid or whatever. Even using that tank with specific stuff, you'll get your cars cleaned really quick. It's great for engine bays, greasy engines, concrete. It absolutely tears through the concrete. If you put that little jet one on it, it'll probably rip up the concrete. Also comes with the 15, 25, 40 and 84 nozzle. I don't know why they've got 84 on there. That's very specific, but yeah, overall it's a great unit. Would highly recommend it if you don't mind those little bits and pieces there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, go out and buy yourself a nice pressure washer. You won't regret it.